If you're new to my channel, this is where MAGA comes to talk. Oh boy. So the Kamala Harris campaign and all of her minions and the fake news, left-wing corporate media are in a panic. And some things have come out today that have not really made the news at all yet, that I'm going to cover here in just a moment. But the first sign of panic of the Kamala Harris team is this crap that's been going on for 2 days now, that she's not the border czar. Everyone knows that's BS, okay? Remember, in the primaries, every single state primary, both Republican and Democrat, okay, when people were interviewed at polling locations in every state by the major media, and they were asked, what's the number one issue? They all said immigration, the border. So this is a big problem for her. So that's why they're trying to divert. But there's other stories too. Now, we're getting the first polls since Kamala Harris disenfranchised all of the Democrat primary voters in all 50 states at U.S. primaries and has anointed herself the nominee, even though she didn't get a single vote. And I'm going to go through this. The first polls are coming in. We're going to go through them. But remember, you really need to add about 10 to Trump in all the polls, because the polls that are in the media that we see are not the internal polls. They're the polls that always lean to the left. And I'll just give you before I read the story, I'll just give it to you. Trump leads 50 to 43%. 50 to 43% with Trump leading. No Harris bump. Okay? In 3 surveys, this is in the Washington Examiner. You can check this out. I did tweet this. And by the way, if you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe. And everyone, please like the video. This article is in the Washington Examiner. In 3 surveys, since Kamala became the presumptive Democratic nominee for president, Kamala Harris has failed to overtake Donald Trump, as his campaign feared would happen. Instead, the race remains where it has been for months, with Trump leading Harris both in new national head-to-head battleground and state surveys. Just out is the latest Rasmussen reports. Rasmussen's poll, shared with Secrets and taken over the past 3 nights, so this is since she took over, taken over the past 3 nights, shows Trump leading Kamala Harris with likely voters 50 to 43%, well outside the margin of error. And remember, likely voters are the most scientific of samples, right? Likely voters, 50 to 43. And this is the latest. Rasmussen's one of the most credible polling organizations, and it was taken since she took the nomination from Biden without receiving a single vote. So the latest Rasmussen shows Trump leading Kamala Harris with likely voters 50% to 43%. Wow. That's absolutely amazing. Okay? The new poll shows a massive 20-point gap among independent voters favoring Trump, 53 to 33 among independent voters. And they always tell us, if you watch the political pundits in every election cycle, they always tell you, oh, it's the independents. We got to look at the independents. The independents. Trump is, and again, this was all done since she took the nomination without receiving a single vote. So check this out. Donald Trump, a 20-point lead among independents against Kamala, 53 to 33. So there are no Kamala Harris bumps. When third-party candidates were included in Rasmussen's questioning, Trump still stayed in the lead. Trump kept a 7-point lead over Kamala Harris with Bobby Kennedy in the mix. So he's still winning even when they throw in Bobby Kennedy, Robert Kennedy Jr. So this is absolutely amazing. Right. This is crazy. You know, I mean, when have you seen someone jump into a presidential race and not get a bump, especially when they're getting all this free publicity from the fake news media that's been having a pep rally for the last 3 days. Okay, now here's another poll. Kamala Harris, this is on Dan Bongino's website. Kamala Harris underperforming in youth vote in first polling since Biden dropped out. This is amazing, right? Oh no, she's got the Taylor Swifties and all this. If grouping voters by age, the youth demographic, this is on Bongino's website, the youth demographic overwhelmingly votes Democrat, a party they backed by double digits in presidential elections in the Obama and post-Obama era. In 2008, that's when Obama was elected, nearly 70% of voters under 30 voted for Obama. In 2012, 60% of the under 30s voted for Obama. Hillary in let's see here, got 58%. Okay? But things aren't looking as optimistic for Kamala Harris. As CNN noted in their reporting on the latest polling data, while Biden led Trump by 21 points in the under 35 demo, Kamala Harris is only leading by 9. Remember, Hillary had them by 60. That senile old coot Joe Biden had them by 21. Kamala in the youth vote is leading only by 9. So things are not looking good or going well for Kamala. And, here's the thing. You're going to have your CNN and your MSNBC. You're going to have these guys out there promoting all of this garbage, okay? That she's doing well, that, there's this whole rally behind her. The youth are all over TikTok. That is all fake. It is all fake, okay? These polls I just shared with you are the first polls out since Biden dropped out. So the sample was with everyone knowing what's going on. And, what they were hoping for was that the polls before that showed Trump ahead of Kamala was because she wasn't a candidate. Naruntu fan, Naruntu fan, Z4, $5 super chat. Thank you so much. It's appreciated. They thought, well, Trump was ahead of Kamala in those polls, but she wasn't in the race yet. This is what they were saying. When we get the first polls after Biden drops out and she's running, that's when we're going to see it. And boom, no bump. In fact, an anti-bump among the youth vote, where Biden was 21 points ahead in the under 35s, and now she's only 9 ahead. So this is amazing, and I can't tell you. I'm surprised at this. Because she's been. I knew Trump would stay ahead, but what surprises me is how far ahead. Because I thought with all this pep rally that they're doing, that they'd be able to manage some kind of bump with Trump ahead, but not as far ahead as he was. Now he's even further ahead, and that explains the panic over the border czar. They're totally gaslighting. They're trying to brainwash us. They're trying to tell you what you heard, what you saw on their own channels, on their own websites, and their own news publications wasn't said, and it didn't happen. It's absolutely amazing. Now, if you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe. Of course, the left will tell you that the MAGA people are violent, right? Which is, of course, not true. They point to January 6th, and I'll remind you, only one person was killed on January 6th, and that was Ashley Babbitt, and she was MAGA, and she was killed by, that incompetent Capitol Police officer, but they say we're the violent ones. This Democrat donor who they now have, that shot President Trump. Think about it. President Trump got shot by a Democrat donor. They said he had no social media presence. Now, that's been coming out today on Gab. And he's been promoting lockdowns and Biden on Gab. Okay? So, his social media footprint is a Democrat. Not only did he shoot President Trump, he killed a MAGA man, shot 2 others. Okay? But they say we're the violent one. And then there was this other story, which is really sad. A Trump supporter, age 80. Did you guys hear about this story? A Trump supporter, age 80, was putting up a political sign in his front yard. He was run over. Listen to this. An elderly Trump supporter has been seriously hurt in a politically motivated incident after being run over by a four-wheel ATV while he was putting up a campaign sign in his yard. The 80-year-old Michigan man sustained critical injuries after the vehicle plowed into him in front of his home in Hancock, Michigan on Sunday. The suspect was identified on Monday after he called police to confess to a crime involving an ATV driver in the last 24 hours. However, when cops arrived, they discovered the 22-year-old driver dead from a self-inflicted wound. Police alleged the driver had vandalized two other vehicles prior to the hit and run and was linked to three politically motivated cases in total. Police were first called on Sunday when they found the elderly man with serious injuries. He was rushed to the hospital where he remains in critical condition as of Tuesday. Police said the ATV driver was targeting Trump supporters and law enforcement supporters. So the guy was putting up Trump signs, and this liberal punk ran him over in his ATV. The suspect called cops to report himself, requested they send someone to pick me up, and then when they found him, The crimes reported in the city appear to be politically motivated, of course they are, involving victims who displayed Trump election signs, as well as law enforcement appreciation stickers and flags commonly referred to as thin blue line paraphernalia, said the sheriff's office. Deputies who searched the driver's home recovered several electronic devices, which are being searched by computer forensic specialists. The four-wheel vehicle and suspect's clothes at the time of the incident were also recovered. The 80-year-old man was putting up Trump Make America Great Again 2024 yard signs. This is a week after President Trump was shot by a 20-year-old. Now we've got a 22-year-old Democrat attacking and running over MAGA people. But we're the violent ones? What's going on here? And, you got to ask yourself. We've got 120 and 122. One in Pennsylvania, one in Michigan. Young Democrats. One shot President Trump and three others at the Trump rally. This guy attacked multiple MAGA people, ran one over 80 years old in his front yard with his ATV. Who is radicalizing these people? Who's radicalizing them? What is this all about? How is this happening? Is it TikTok? What is it? Why did two young men a week from each other do these things? When you have the media telling you for years that somebody's Hitler and that if they win, democracy is lost, and you're radicalizing young people with this brainwashing. This monster was 22 that ran over the 80-year-old Trump supporter. The man who shot President Trump was 20. So Trump came down the escalator 9 years ago. So these guys, throughout all they know in their whole adult coherent life, their young adult coherent life as teenagers, is that Trump's Hitler. It's the end of democracy. It's the end of this. He's got to be stopped. They've been radicalized by the Joy Reids, the MSNBC crowd, the CNNs, and all those people. They have radicalized these young men, and that is why they're moving on to do these terrible things. There's no doubt about it. And the story of the 80-year-old man has really been suppressed. They're really suppressing that story in the media. It's gotten very little coverage because they don't want people to know about it. But the question is, how relevant is the mainstream media anymore? Do they even matter anymore? Right? Should we pay any attention to them? To me, they're irrelevant, and they're desperate to be relevant. You know, thankfully, Elon Musk bought Twitter, turned it into X, and it's a free speech zone, right? You know, these stories I'm talking about, a lot of it I find on Twitter. I posted on Twitter. And if the same people still own Twitter, and it wasn't X, you know, they would suppress all this, you know, just like all this information that's coming out about Kamala. And there's a big story about Kamala that this is on. If you guys follow me on Twitter, you can get all of this information. Brian Craig Show on X. Follow me there, Brian Craig Show on X. Yeah, oh yeah, you're welcome to call me on the radio when I'm on the air in the studio, whether it's my home studio or the radio station. I do take live calls. I'm not taking calls here on the back porch where it's hot. Alexa, what's the temperature?
Right now, it's 89 degrees Fahrenheit. Tonight, expect a low of 79 degrees.
It's 89 degrees right now. So, Kamala, you know, if you just join the stream, go to the beginning and start watching from the beginning, where I go over the latest polls that have come out. Not only has there been no Kamala bump in her favor, she's losing big time, as much as 20 points against President Trump. It's you know, go back and watch the polls, and you know, so much is coming out about her that maybe you know, and I knew a lot of these things, but most people don't, okay, in the electorate. They know she's the border czar, and they know what problem that is, but we're learning a lot of other things. And this is actually a clipping from the local newspaper in San Francisco when she was the district attorney. Now, remember, every single primary election, they would go to the state. What's the number one issue? They all said the border, illegal immigration, the border, illegal immigration, the border, over and over again in every state primary. Well, listen to this. This is from the local paper, the San Francisco Chronicle. It's an article from 2009, okay, when Kamala Harris was the district attorney of San Francisco, which was declared a sanctuary city. Listen to this. Here's the headline. DA Kamala Harris let illegals clear their records. Jackson Van Der Beeken is the writer. San Francisco District Attorney Kamala Harris's office on Monday defended allowing about a half dozen first-time drug offenders to clear their records by going through a job training program, even after prosecutors learned they were deportable as undocumented immigrants. So she had a policy as a district attorney when they would find illegals committing crimes, they would allow them to clear their criminal records and not deport them. This is freaking insane. And, you know, these are drug charges. You know, one of the biggest problems we're facing is the fentanyl crisis that's being brought up by the Kamala Harris border czar illegals. This is big, big. She's in big trouble. I mean, she is in humongous trouble, and it's going to get worse because she's done nothing but extremely radical liberal things, and she loves to talk about them, and she's been talking about them for years. Oh, boy. I know. So, yeah, they love, the Democrats love criminals. They love criminals. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, my name's Brian, and this is where MAGA comes to talk. So, the Democrats, the fake news media, they've spent the last 48 hours trying to tell us that Kamala Harris was not the border czar. But all of the media reported that she was the border czar. So today, in the White House press briefing, Ducey from Fox News asked Jean-Pierre about this. Listen.
Democrats on Capitol Hill are being handed this card with talking points about the vice president and the border. Do you know who's...
Oh, my goodness. And Ducey's got the card. Have you ever heard of Republican members of Congress being given a card with talking points about President Trump or any Republican. I've never heard of such a thing. And they're handing out talking points about Kamala Harris to Democrats. My goodness.
Democrats on Capitol Hill are being handed this card with talking points about the vice president and the border. Do you know who's handing this out?
I have no idea. You probably should ask her campaign.
So the first one says Vice President Harris was never appointed border czar. There's never been such a position. It doesn't exist. Why are Democrats so sensitive about the vice president and the border?
Why are Republicans so sensitive about actually not owning up to them getting in the way of a border deal?
Oh, my goodness.
Why? Why won't they own up to that? Why won't they own up to the last president told them not to move forward? It was a bipartisan.
Now, what she's talking about, who, by the way, she's a legal immigrant, Jean-Pierre. She's talking about when Biden wanted to legalize illegal immigration. You're damn right Republicans oppose legalizing illegal immigration.
Deal on just right there, available to them, and they voted twice against it. Twice against it. Why are they so sensitive to moving forward and actually dealing on an issue that majority of Americans care about, is dealing with what's going on at the border?
Do you think that the border would be less of a talking point now if there was less migration to the border? Say if somebody had addressed root.
By the way, it's not migration, okay? I'm in Florida. If I move to Georgia, if I move to California, if I move to New York, if I move to Michigan, I've migrated. Okay, when you leave, that's when you move from inside a country, you're migrating. When you go from one country to another, you're immigrating. So I mean, they're changing the English language. I mean, it's so George Orwellian here.
Migration to the border. Say if somebody had addressed root causes of migration sooner.
Wait, hold on a second. Did you not hear the beginning of I know there were a lot of toppers, but one of the toppers, I talked about what we're seeing at the border. It's down by 55%, not because of Republicans in Congress and what they did. It's because of what this president and this vice president did. He moved forward and took actions to deal with what's going on at the border. Republicans continue to block getting resources to the Border Patrol agents. They continue to block actually dealing with an immigration system.
See, this is a total gaslighting, total BS that she's talking about here.
So yes, we are going to debunk the false characterization of the vice president. She was not a border czar, and it's not.
Oh my goodness, she was not a border czar. What a bunch of BS, okay? We all heard it. She went down to that one area where there's no problems that they cleaned up and called her the border czar. Now, border czar is not an official office, okay? We do not have czar offices, but there are people in government that from time to time are giving the job of overseeing certain things. The drug czar, as an example, is the most well-known, okay? So yes, she was the border czar. And the more they try to gaslight people on this, the more they're discrediting themselves, even with their brain-dead, liberal, zombie followers who know that that's BS. I mean, you know. So Kamala, what her strategy is she's going to try to reach out to African Americans. So all of a sudden, she's going to start acting black. And Kamala Harris, she's biracial. Her mother is Indian, from India, where Gandhi's from. Her father's from Jamaica. So she's biracial. She's Indian and black. But her parents divorced when she was very young, okay? And her mother took her to Canada when she was in elementary school. She did the rest of her schooling through high school graduation in Canada. And her mother lived the life of an Indian woman. And there's a lot of photographs of Kamala wearing traditional Indian clothing, which is fine and all, but she did not grow up she grew up in Canada. She did not grow up as, anything other than Indian. And because she grew up in Canada, she doesn't even have an American perspective. She doesn't know American history. She doesn't understand American culture because during those years when you're young, through elementary school through high school, that's when your worldview is formed. And she's Canadian, not American. She doesn't understand anything, but she thinks and when she first got elected to the Senate, she was promoted as the first Indian American senator or something that had to do with Indian American. But now she's trying to get blacks that have jumped on the Trump train to vote for her. So she's going to go around and try to be as black as possible. Here she is talking about collard greens.
Right, Marlon. So I know how to make a mean pot of greens. In fact, people used to ask me to make greens for them for Christmas. One year, I had so many that I had to wash that we ended up washing them in the bathtub. So I am not playing around. So what you got?
Do you? I want these friends that used to ask Kamala to make her collard greens to come forward and talk about collard greens. Now I must tell you, I love collard greens. You guys like collard greens? Oh man, you can't live in the South like I do and not enjoy collard greens. This is like Hillary with the hot sauce. Okay, Hillary said she carried hot sauce around in her purse because somebody told her black women do that. I don't know. My daughter's black. She doesn't carry hot sauce around. Any African American women in here? Do you carry hot sauce in your purse? Tell me in the chat, yes or no, if you're watching live. If you're not watching live, let me know in the comments. Do you believe that Kamala Harris makes collard greens and then makes them so good that people come to her and say, Kamala, I hear that you make collard greens that are so good that I need you to make them for me. Can you make me collard greens? Because your collard greens are the best. You know, this is the lie times infinity, okay? It's not good enough to lie that she makes collard greens, you know, for the family. She makes the best collard greens. She makes the greatest, best tasting collard greens from miles around. People come from 3 counties away just to come to Kamala's house to have her make collard greens. Are you freaking kidding me? What a load of BS that is. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, that's how Democrats are. They lie about their backgrounds to try to relate to different demographics of people. Now, here's another poll. There's not a single poll that is good for Kamala Harris. Okay. Let me pull this one up. Listen to this. Now, this is also on. This is everything I talk about. I do tweet. It's on my Twitter. Political polls, which is very good. It's a Twitter account. Political polls. You can look them up. And they polled 101,000. Okay, 101,000 people they polled. If the 2024 presidential election were held today, for whom would you vote? Here are the choices: Donald Trump, greatest president ever; Kamala Harris; Robert Kennedy Jr., or other. President Trump not only is in first place, he's in first place by far. President Trump in first place with 74.6%. Kamala Harris in second place with 19.5%. Imagine, she's only 19.5 points ahead of me in this poll. Think about that. Bobby Kennedy Jr. in third at 3.3%, and 2.6% say they'll vote for somebody else other than those 3. But Trump is leading her by, what, 55.1 points? 55.1 point lead against Kamala Harris in that poll. So, I mean, what else do you need to know? Oh, man. Oh, yeah, Kamala Harris. So many people ask Kamala Harris to make her collard greens, that they're the best around, that her kitchen's not big enough. She's got to wash them in the bathtub. Is there anyone who has known of anyone who is washing vegetables in a damn bathtub? Are you freaking kidding me? Is there anyone that's done that? I've never heard of such a thing. You've got to take the lie to infinity and beyond. Oh, collard greens are good. I don't know how to make them. You know, my mother-in-law makes them. I got a brother-in-law that makes them really good. Oh, my goodness. My brother-in-law makes the best collard greens I've ever had in my life. My mother-in-laws are very good. If you don't like collard greens, you just haven't had them made by somebody that can cook them good. You have to have Kamala over. Ask Kamala Harris to make you collard greens. She makes the best, according to her. Oh, my goodness. What a bunch of crap. Here she is, an Indian woman living with a Jewish guy, and she's making collard greens. Does anyone believe that? I know. Exactly. But that's how they are. There we go. All right, now if you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe, and everyone who's already subbed, like the video. Okay, so it looks like we're going to have a debate with President Trump and the best maker of collard greens, Kamala Harris. Listen.
So many of you have been asking me about the debate, and I'll tell you, I'm ready to debate Donald Trump. I have agreed to the previously agreed upon September 10th debate. He agreed to that previously. Now it appears he's backpedaling, but I'm ready. And I think the voters deserve to see the split screen that exists in this race on a debate stage, and so I'm ready. Let's go.
Will you do it on Fox News?
Comment on the protest yesterday.
Well, there it is. It's on. Okay. You know, and this just shows you how stupid she is. Has Donald Trump ever lost a debate? No. He has gone up against debates with pros that have debated time and time again. He defeated how many Republicans in the first primary? Like 16, 15, right? I mean, this is absolutely amazing. So Kamala, yeah, I can't wait for that debate. That's going to be the debate of debates. And, you know, what is she going to say when Donald Trump brings up Lincoln Riley and these other Americans who have been raped and murdered because of her, as the borders are, allowing illegals to come into this country? How is she going to respond to that, right? See, I think she's so out of touch with reality that she thinks she's a great debater. She had one good debate against Biden. She was going up against a senile old coot with Alzheimer's, okay? And in the next debate, they brought Tulsi Gabbard in, and Tulsi Gabbard cleaned her clock, and then she was polling about 1% after that, and she dropped out, okay? But I guess she's forgotten about that. Yes. Oh, you know, something happened today that's absolutely amazing. Tucker Carlson just surpassed Joe Rogan as the #1 podcast on Spotify. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? I didn't even realize Tucker was doing a podcast. Is that his Tucker on X show that he puts on Spotify? I'm going to listen to it and see if it's the same. But that's amazing. And, you know, Joe Rogan has not interviewed Trump for whatever reason. And I bet he wants to interview Trump now, Rogan, to try to get back in that #1 spot. It doesn't say how far Tucker's ahead, but that's absolutely amazing. And he did that really without even trying. You know, and of course, he's MAGA. He was sitting with the Trump family in the box at the Republican National Convention. Okay, and he hangs out at the Bedminster Resort with him. So, you know, so we got a MAGA guy who's got the #1 most listened to podcast in America, passing Joe Rogan. That's like beating Mr. Beast. You know, that's absolutely amazing. It is exactly right. This is winning. It's exactly what it is. It is winning. And, you know, things like this. Okay, Tucker Carlson becoming the #1 most listened to podcast in America. That's a poll in itself, right? Right? Who made him that way? MAGA. That's right. Yeah. See, boom. Yeah. Even got an email to prove it. And, you know, things like that are polls. Let me pull up some others here because I have some other things I want to share with you all. Let's see here. Okay, now this really blew me away. You know, Kamala has done nothing for 4 years but interviews and speeches, and everything's recorded. And, you know, I'm going to play this one clip of Kamala from CNN that is just shows how stupid and extreme she is in her positions. But all of the information we're hearing about Kamala Harris that shows how crazy, out of control, and radical she is are things that have happened very recently, and they're all available. Like with Joe Biden, a lot of the things they pick up with Joe Biden are terrible, but they're from the 70s, the 80s. The most recent, is Clarence Thomas hearing. Was that 91 or 90? 91? So, that's a long time ago. These things with Kamala are recent, which makes them much more relevant and powerful because you got, they're all over the internet. So here's Kamala. She's taking a question at a CNN town hall from a left-wing lunatic in the audience.
Certain countries have changed their dietary guidelines to reduce the consumption of red meat.
Okay. I don't know why they have a foreigner with a funny accent in the audience at a CNN debate, but she, if you couldn't understand the funny accent, what the lady just asked Kamala Harris, there are some countries that have changed their dietary guidelines to help with climate change. Are you freaking kidding me?
Certain countries have changed their dietary guidelines to reduce the consumption of red meat in light of the impact of the climate change.
Yeah.
If elected, will you be supporting change in dietary guidelines? And then how will you plan on implementing the changes so that people effectively change their diets?
Oh my goodness. Who is behind that, right? Who is behind this eating? You know what this anti-eating red meat? It's from the chicken industry or something. You guys ever go to Chick-fil-A? Chick-fil-A has one of the best marketing campaigns, right? Have you ever seen this? I don't know if they run this on television, but if you ever go in person to a Chick-fil-A restaurant at a mall or the inside the restaurant, they have 3 cows standing up and they're holding a sign, and the cows are holding a sign saying, "Eat more chicken," right? Eat more chicken. Of course, the cows want you to eat more chicken. So what is this? The Purdue family, the chicken family of Purdue Chicken behind this? Oh yes, yes. Well, if you stop eating red meat, it will save the planet. Come on, what a bunch of crap. All right, let me go.
In dietary guidelines, and then how will you plan on implementing the changes so that people effectively change their diets?
Yeah, I mean, and thank you, Carol, for your work and the question.
Thank you for your work and the question. Oh my goodness.
I think of the point that you're raising in a broader context, which is that as a nation, we actually have to have a real priority at the highest level of government around what we eat and in terms of healthy eating, because we have a problem in America.
Do we?
And we can talk about all that we are now, the subject of this conversation. We can talk about the amount of sugar in everything. We can talk about soda. We could go on and on. So the answer is yes. But I will also say,
this is nuts. The answer is yes. She wants to reduce red meat consumption to save the planet. How about stop flying around on a private jet to 4 campaign stops a day? What was her carbon footprint today flying around? She went to that sorority meeting yesterday. She flew out of Washington. Her jet, her escort, her convoy, her carbon footprint just today or yesterday, you could pick any day, is probably greater than mine or yours in 6 months or even a year. Probably, maybe even several years, because she's flying around with jets and she's got a motorcade with her, but she wants us not to have hamburgers. Oh my goodness. I mean, this is, and you know what's crazy? To liberals, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Oh man, this is from Culver's. I had a cheeseburger today. My wife and I, we had cheeseburgers from Culver's. They were very good. And in fact, I had a double. Okay, so I had 2 beef patties on my hamburger. Sorry for the carbon footprint. So, I mean, she is just a radical lunatic. Listen to this.
it is wrong to somehow suggest that an undocumented immigrant is a criminal.
Well, first off, if they're in the country illegally, by definition, they are a criminal. If you're in the country illegally, you've done something illegal, you are a criminal, right?
It is wrong to somehow suggest that an undocumented immigrant is a criminal.
Oh.
I've personally prosecuted everything from low-level offenses to homicides. I know what a crime looks like. An undocumented immigrant is not a criminal.
Wow. An illegal has not done something illegal. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? You know, and that this is going. The border is her undoing. I kind of feel like, Biden set her up. I feel like, Jill Biden's running the show, right? Jill Biden hates Kamala. She was pissed off at her because in that first debate, she went after Joe, right? And I feel like the Bidens screwed her over by pushing her for this nomination, knowing she's going to be so humiliated by everything she's said and done that she's not going to be able to get elected as dog catcher when this is all done. I mean, she's really being exposed. People were not paying much attention to Kamala Harris, and now that they are, they're like, oh my gosh, she's a radical lunatic nutcase. She's losing support of the young people by double digits to President Trump. Oh my goodness. Now, remember, if you're new, make sure you subscribe to my channel. This is where MAGA comes to talk. If you love Trump, you're going to love my channel. If you don't love Trump, you watch me long enough, you will. Absolutely. 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 So this is, a montage that was put together on this border czar thing. They're trying to wash our brains and try to make us think that she was not the border czar. She's not the border czar. That's just some right-wing propaganda.
Quote unquote border czar. Vice President Harris was not a border czar.
Okay, now the way they did this was first you hear yesterday you hear the liberal reporters from yesterday saying she was not the border czar, and then they play a clip of them telling you they were the border czar. Okay, whoever did this spent a lot of time in a very short amount of time putting this together.
Quote unquote border czar. Vice President Harris was not a border czar.
Meantime, Vice President and border czar Kamala Harris facing some backlash.
What he said about Harris and immigration was not true. She was never appointed border czar.
And this will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the border czar by President Biden.
People gonna have to counter the misinformation. You already hear folks talking about the border czar. She wasn't the border czar.
President Biden tapped Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to be the border czar.
Now, she wasn't the border czar. That's what Republicans labeled her.
They were very critical of Kamala Harris, especially in her role as border czar.
Now what she's up against is folks lying about her border record, calling her a border czar.
Kamala Harris, who was appointed as the border czar.
The Biden team didn't declare her the border czar. They wanted her to work on kind of the root causes of immigration.
There has been so much criticism against Kamala Harris. She was the border czar.
Calling her sort of the border czar, which wasn't necessarily the case.
So the border, if they weren't planning to address it in a major way, do not make her your border czar. She met with some of the Northern Triangle countries, but nothing has effectively changed.
There you go. That was put together, by the way, by newsbusters.org. That is the textbook definition of gaslighting, brainwashing. They don't want you to believe something that you saw, heard, and know to be true. They're telling you what you saw and heard is not true. I mean, that is another level of insane psychosis that I have never seen the media do in an instance like this that was so easily disprovable, right? So here's Kamala with Chuck Todd on Meet the Press.
Would you call the border secure?
The border is secure.
We're going to have 2 million people.
Now, they brought 20 million illegals into this country, which is almost the population of the state of Florida. Okay, illegal. They brought about 20 million illegals, according to President Trump, and he knows. And how many of them have raped, killed, and committed other crimes?
Would you call the border secure?
The border is secure.
We're going to have 2 million people cross this border for the first time ever. You're confident this border is secure?
We have a secure border in that is a priority for any nation, including ours and our administration.
Oh. There you go. I mean, yeah, exactly. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. She is the worst possible candidate. And in fact, she may be the worst candidate in the history of presidential candidates. She does not have the nomination yet. It is possible she doesn't get it. They get another week or two of this. They may try for a third run with a third person. Here she is again, Kamala Harris.
What is that solution? Can you understand the frustration, though, that Americans have about the situation at the border?
I'm in charge, for example, of coordinating what we call a root causes strategy. What are the causes of people leaving? We have now raised $3.2 billion.
Okay. She says she wants to find the root causes of why people are coming to America from South America. It's obvious. Free crap, okay? You get your EBT card. You get free rent. You get free food. Your kids get a free education. You get your free Obama phone. It's a retirement plan. They're coming to America to retire off the government. That's why. That's the root cause.
What is that solution? Can you understand the frustration, though, that Americans have about the situation at the border?
I'm in charge, for example, of coordinating what we call a root causes strategy. What are the causes of people leaving? We have now raised $3.2 billion to help the folks in those countries stay.
Really? What did they do? They spent money doing that? Where did they do that? Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, here's Kamala running around, the savior of democracy. She just was the leader of a coup against the man who won the delegates. She didn't get one single vote. And she's claiming she's got the nomination. This is not how a brokered convention works, okay? If you go back to brokered conventions are among the primary candidates duking it out to get the nomination, okay? I've never seen them plug somebody in that didn't get one single vote, okay, and say, oh, they're our nominee, right? No. That's it. So, yesterday, MSNBC went to Wisconsin, and they put together a focus group of women, female voters, of course, women. William Livingston, $5 super chat, thank you. Harris needs to tell us, what's a woman? That's exactly right. What is a woman? Yeah, that's exactly right. What is a woman? So MSNBC, they went to Wisconsin, and they put together this focus group of women, and they asked these women their thoughts on Kamala Harris.
How do you perceive Vice President Harris compared to President Biden in terms of competency and experience?
I think she's worse. She doesn't even know what's going on at the border.
Right.
And that's what she was supposed to be doing and in charge of. I mean, as a school teacher, if I did not do what I was supposed to be doing, you better believe my job would be in jeopardy. Well, it isn't. Not only was her job not in jeopardy, she was just handed a promotion.
Is there anyone that Kamala Harris could appoint as her vice president that you would find reassuring, would make you consider voting for her?
No. Never consider voting for her. No.
I would do RFK Jr. way before her.
Yeah.
Oh, RFK Jr. way before her. So, I mean, that's a liberal. RFK Jr. is a radical liberal, too, but they would rather have him than her.
Yeah. And she's not the first woman to run for the presidency, Hillary Clinton. I'm assuming no one voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. So it's not necessarily going to sway you to vote for a woman in office. When do you think America will have a female president?
When there's a competent one.
Oh.
I don't get it.
What a radical idea. When there's a competent woman. How radical. You gotta love it. I mean, they are really in a bad spot with her. Now, let me ask you guys, what do you think? Do the Democrats really want her as their nominee, or is she being put up to be humiliated and run out of politics forever? Because there hasn't been a single thing that has come out about Kamala Harris all week that makes her look like anything other than a radical, unqualified lunatic. Here she is on an interview talking about illegals.
I'll tell you what I've said for years, which is being an undocumented immigrant is not a crime. You know, I mean, the idea that people are suggesting that it is a violation of rules. That's not the point, though. The way it has been characterized is to suggest that undocumented immigrants are criminals, which has led then to this president being able to then suggest that they're murderers and rapists.
Right.
And so as a former prosecutor, I will say that this is an absolute mischaracterization of the issue in a way that is deceptive and in a way that is dishonest.
Oh, to say that people that are doing something illegal are criminals, that's dishonest? Oh, my goodness. You know, this is going to be beautiful because it's going to get worse. Every single day, there is a new little soundbite or two that's dropped about her. The more that they try to defend her and prop her up, the worse they make it for her. And what she's become is an object of ridicule, okay? And when someone becomes an object of ridicule in politics, it's over for them, right? Dukakis in the tank and stuff like that. Now, this is CBS News. This is another poll involving the black vote.
The numbers that came out were basically 70-something%.
It's a CNN, the clip is from CNN, but they're talking about a CBS poll.
The numbers that came out were basically 70-something%, 77%, or there it is, 76% would go with Kamala Harris, 21% with Donald Trump. Those are historic highs for a Republican, never mind Donald Trump, who I think got, a heck of a lot less than that. What does she need to do in your mind?
She needs to start talking about collard greens, apparently, like she was doing earlier. So Donald Trump is polling at historical highs so far as his support and the support of a Republican presidential campaign candidate among blacks. Again, no bump. No bump. I mean, this is insane. I have never heard of someone not getting a bump. Have you heard of someone announcing that they're running for president and they don't get a bump anywhere? I've never heard of it. Well, maybe you could say Trump got the bump, but I'm talking about the person that actually makes the announcement. They because there's a couple days.
You haven't been before.
Oh, here we go. Listen.
And I haven't been to Europe.
Oh, yeah. Okay, here she goes. Let me play the. When someone announces they're running for president, they get 2, 3, 4 days, maybe a week of a pep rally, which is kind of what she's been getting the last 3 days. So they get a bump in the polls because people are becoming aware of them. They're getting they're being told how great they are. Trump's the one that's gotten the bump, which, as far as I know, that's historic. Now, this is David Axelrod yesterday starting this crap that she isn't the border czar.
And I appreciate that. That is a good instinct. So she wasn't the border czar. She
wasn't the border czar. And the more that they try that, the more that they push lies like that, the more the polls are going to go in Trump's favor. I mean, tell me yes or no in the chat. Are you voting for Donald Trump? I'm a yes. Are you got yes or no? You voting for Donald Trump? I mean, how could you not? You know, we are so lucky that Elon Musk bought Twitter. Look at all that. Yes. You know, because I'm of the opinion that Twitter, X, is the #1 driver of political news in America. I don't know if you guys agree with that. I believe it is. It has been in the last couple of elections. And pretty much everything I've shared with you on this live stream would have been blocked on Twitter under the old guard. Deb's not voting for Trump. You only get one vote, Deb. See, the typical of a Democrat. You got to keep. He's trying to overinflate how many. Just one person saying it over and over. Deb, why would you not vote for Trump and vote for this? You know, but because Elon Musk has made Twitter a free speech zone, the Democrats can't get false narratives going. And if the liberals still controlled Twitter, and it was still Twitter and not X, Elon Musk had not bought it, they would have been able to successfully promote this false narrative that she was not the border czar. And I think they're really in shock that that has not gained traction. Because this is the first election that they've run where they didn't have the control of Twitter in a while. The control, and they have lost 100%. They've lost 100% control of the ability to put out a false narrative. And they've been putting out false narratives nonstop our entire lives, and they're not able to get one off the ground. In fact, they attempt one, it immediately gets debunked like this. I mean, whoever put together that montage of the media calling her the border czar in 24 hours with all those different clips, that is fantastic. I don't know how they did it. I mean, because that was on every news outlet you can imagine, time and time again. I don't know how they got that together, but they did it. It's just like, you know, this Project 2025. That's faded away. Have you noticed? Because they don't have the mainstream media are irrelevant now. Nobody watches them. Nobody cares what they have to say. They're background noise. They're like ambient sounds in the background. And because Elon Musk has made Twitter, now X, a free speech zone, this Project 2025 BS that they were trying to get this narrative going, that's faded away. I haven't heard them mention Project 2025 in about a week. But if the left still controlled Twitter, the Project 2025 would have been promoted like it would become like fact. Anybody opposing that narrative would be banned from the platform, and Biden would still be in the race. And the Democrat, listen, most Americans, my entire lifetime, have agreed with the Republican Party. They just didn't know it. Because the fake news media has promoted false narratives like they tried, she's not the border czar, Project 2025 and Trump, all BS, right? And the Democrat Party, they don't know how to run an election without the ability to promote false narratives. And they haven't realized that they no longer have the ability to promote false narratives. They still think that that they can. Okay, let me see here. Oh, here's Kamala Harris. Listen.
Because when we think about the strength of our democracy, you know, I think that there's a duality to the nature of democracy.
Oh my goodness, a duality to the nature of democracy. What does that even mean? Does she even mean? Oh, this is the one I wanted to play. This is beautiful. Okay. Emily Sykes, she's a Democrat congresswoman from Ohio, and she's walking to her office through the hallway in the congressional office building. And she's asked by a reporter if she thinks that Kamala Harris did a good job as border czar. Listen.
Congresswoman, do you think Kamala Harris did a good job as the border czar, yes or no?
I don't know who Kamala Harris is.
She says, I don't know who Kamala Harris is. Democrat congresswoman. She doesn't even want to be associated with Kamala Harris. She's a black congresswoman, Amelia Sykes, Democrat out of Ohio. Listen.
Congresswoman, do you think Kamala Harris did a good job as the border czar, yes or no?
I don't know who Kamala Harris is.
She's the vice president.
She's the vice president of the United. I don't know who she is. She's the sitting vice president. No, I don't know who she is. I don't want to be associated with her. I don't know who she. It's like they asked her about El Chapo or something. I wonder if that answer is on that talking point card that they're handing out to Democrats on how to respond to Kamala Harris that Peter Doocy was holding up to Jean-Pierre today. Now, you know, Kamala Harris is as radical as it gets, and this goes back to what I was talking about earlier, that she grew up in Canada, not the United States, so she doesn't understand our culture. Here she is talking about the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution.
And if they fail to do it, then I will take executive action. And specifically what I will do is put in place a requirement that for anyone who sells more than 5 guns a year, they are required to do background checks when they sell those guns.
Multimedia marketplace.
I will require that for any gun dealer that breaks the law, the
Okay, so she's going to require gun buybacks. You're going to be forced to sell your guns back. That's nuts. And that goes back to her Canadian upbringing. In Canada, they don't have guns. The United States, this is a gun culture, okay? You're not going to be able to take guns away from law-abiding Americans. I'm sorry. You know, but because she grew up in no-gun Canada, she doesn't even understand how outrageous that is, because that's Canadian thought, you know. That's how they think in Canada. But I got to tell you, I'm in shock that there's not a single poll that Kamala Harris got a bump in. Now, if you're new to my channel, please subscribe. My name's Brian Craig. I'm a radio talk show host and podcaster. I live stream every morning from the radio station that I'm on the air. I'm on a bunch of FM radio stations, and I take live calls from people listening to me on the radio, as well as people watching on YouTube and other online platforms. But I don't always stream here on my back porch, but you can usually call me. I take all the calls screenless. You do not have to agree with me to call in. You are welcome to call in. And tomorrow is Friday. We call it Open Phones, Open Mega Mic Friday. You can call in about any and everything that you have on your mind and challenge me live on the air. And that'll be tomorrow morning. So make sure you subscribe to my channel. And you'll be in for an enjoyable time, I promise you. No one loves Trump as much as I do. You will never hear me disagree nor criticize with President Trump. So here's CNN. They're discussing how difficult it will be for Kamala Harris to beat Donald Trump.
CNN senior data reporter Harry Enton joining me now to run the numbers. There is a lot of excitement. We have not seen this kind of shift in tone from the Democrats in particular. I can't remember a time where we've been through something like this.
This has been the craziest month in American politics that I can possibly recall. It was less than a month ago that Joe Biden and Donald Trump were debating in the CNN debate.
Less than a month.
Less than a month. We had a failed assassination attempt. We had a president literally saying, no, I'm not going to run for re-election less than a month before the Democratic National Convention. But here is the thing, Sarah Seidner, for all of the excitement that Democrats have over Kamala Harris, it is going to be difficult to beat Donald Trump, and I want to give you an understanding of why. Let's take a look here just first at the favorable views of Donald Trump. We know that Donald Trump has historically been unpopular, but take a look now. After the Republican National Convention, in the ABC News Ipsos poll, he recorded his highest ever favorable rating at 40%. That's not a one-off. Take a look at the Quinnipiac University poll, 46%. That's the highest ever in that pollster. The fact is, Donald Trump is more popular now than he ever has been before. So yes, Democrats can make this switcheroo, but they're still going to have to beat Donald Trump, a Donald Trump who is stronger, Sarah, than he has ever been before.
Wow. I mean, this is CNN. And, you know, people keep talking about Obama. She's the first this, she's the first that. When Obama was running, Gone Fall, $5 super chat. Thank you very much for that. And they hate X so much with those community notes correcting the independent media lies about Kamala Harris not being a border czar. I know. It's hilarious. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. When Obama ran in 2008, the country was doing well. We didn't have a lot of problems. The war on terror was winding down. The war in Iraq wasn't that hot. But right now, we're almost in a Great Depression. Prices are up 40%, even higher. Everything has gone up in price except wages. They've been the same. So people are suffering and struggling. People are pissed off at the fact that Biden and Harris, he came in after that. Okay, he came in on the heels of that, and it was already taken care of by the time he got in. Bush took care of all that at the end of his term. So, no, he came in at the end of all that, and it was all solved. But the fact that Biden and Harris have erased the southern border, and they brought 20 million illegals into the country, and they're bringing more each and every day, that's pissing people off. This fake war that they've started against Russia and Ukraine, where they've given Russia, they've given Ukraine, I should say, unlimited cash, and basically they've given Zelensky a checkbook, right? They've given Zelensky a checkbook, and all the checks are already signed. They might have put him on the U.S. Treasury bank account. He can probably write and sign checks himself, as long as the Democrat military-industrial complex get their cut. Everybody knows this, and this is pissing people off. This is pissing people off. So Kamala is coming in at its, if she were running and it was in good times, she might have a chance. She still couldn't be Trump, but she might have a little bit of a chance. But things are so bad right now, and people know that even with the shutdowns and the lockdowns, when Trump was president, things were going well, okay? Things were going well. And they know that he knows how to make money, that he's good with the economy, and he'll get everything set up. So here's Kamala Harris showing what a liar she is.
And then best rapper alive, Tupac.
Okay, now this interview was in 2020, I forgot to mention, 2020.
And then best rapper alive, Tupac.
Tupac, who died in what, 98 or something? When did Tupac die? When was he killed? Best rapper alive. Are you kidding me? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. See, this is the kind of thing that's pissing people off. Listen.
Must be addressed.
The bill also says, quote, every individual who is a resident of the United States is entitled to benefits for health care services under this act. Not every individual who's a citizen, but every individual who's a resident. So you support giving universal health care, Medicare for all, to people who are in this country illegally?
Let me just be very clear about this. I am opposed to any policy that would deny in our country any human being from access to public safety, public education, or public health, period.
Wow, free health care for illegals. I'm uninsured. How many of you either do not have insurance or pay through the nose for it? She wants to give people that come into the country illegally free health insurance. Must be nice. Yeah, that kind of stuff pisses people off. That's why Black Lives Matter turned on her this week. 96. Yeah, Tupac died in 96, but he's the best rapper alive. Give me a break. Black Lives Matter came out and turned against Kamala Harris. And the reason is that extreme liberal blacks are pissed off that the illegals are getting so much free stuff. You know what? And it should piss them off. It pisses me off. I mean, how hard do you work? And they give it to these illegals or the Ukrainians. Here's Kamala again.
We've been to the border. So this whole.
She refers to herself in the third person. She doesn't say me or I've been. We, the royal we, egomaniac.
We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border. We've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe.
Oh.
And I don't understand the point that you're making.
The borders are. We're not being invaded by Europe. We're being invaded at our southern border, and Americans are dying. Now, this is the most wild one. Okay, this is wild. Don Lemon on CNN. This is a while back because Don Lemon was still on CNN, and Kamala Harris believes that convicted felons should have their voting rights. By the way, even while incarcerated. But she's so radical on that she even shocked Don Lemon. Listen.
But people who are convicted in prison, like the Boston Marathon bomber, on death row, people who are convicted of sexual assault, they should be able to vote?
I think we should have that conversation.
Okay. All right.
Even Don Lemon is like, what? The Boston bomber and sex offenders? What about BTK? Should he have... That would include BTK, she thinks, should vote? All right, Nicholas Cruz, the Parkland guy, he should be able to vote? What the hell? I mean, even, some people believe felons should get their voting rights reinstated after they do their time. I don't support that. Okay, but a lot of people do. But what she's saying here is these are people that are doing life sentences. So she's saying that not only should felons have the right to vote, that felons that are incarcerated, even for life sentences, should be able to vote while they are incarcerated, while they're in prison. Who supports something so crazy? That's one of the craziest, most lunatic things I've ever heard a politician say. That's why they're rushing this virtual nomination thing over Zoom or whatever they're doing, because they know the longer they wait, the more of these kind of things are going to be coming out, because she's done nothing but interviews and speeches for the last 4 years, and it's going to be nonstop. People like me and President Trump and others constantly sharing all of these things, and they know that it's going to take its toll on her right quick. She's already down in the polls, okay? Wait till more of this gets out. Now, if you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe. And everyone who's already subbed, please like the video. That helps. But make sure you subscribe, guys. You will love my content, I promise you. My name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.